Welcome back to another episode of Black History Chat with Black Professionals, sponsored by my team over at United Veterinary Care, where we believe in improving the lives of all people and pets. And I have another special guest on with me today, who is a graduate of Cornell University, where she received her DVM, and she is also the founder of BlendVet. Welcome to the show, Dr. Niccole Bruno. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, which I know is extremely busy. Hence, every time I text you, I get do not disturb. But it has been extremely, it has been a pleasure to have you take some time out of your schedule to chat with me today, just about some cool things that we have going on, or the, just kind of chatting about Black history or things that go on in the Black veterinary community. And I have been very fortunate enough to actually work with you at VMX, at SBC with your BlendVet project. And it's an extremely awesome project. And I'm extremely proud of where you have, how you have grown this actual program. And for those that don't know about BlendVet, can you tell us a little bit about BlendVet and what actually inspired you to start this program?
Yeah, sure. So BlendVet is an organization that provides two things. One, we do diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training for veterinary professionals because we want the culture of vet med to be one that is inclusive and one that fosters diversity. So educational training was very, very important to me, and being in this industry since pretty much the age of 12 and going through every step of it, I always saw myself as an outsider, and I wanted to make sure that we created environments where people saw themselves in this profession, but also felt that they belonged in it. And so I do believe that starts with training. Out of that came this desire to continue the work that I would do on the side, which was give back to my community. I would always go to schools and do career days or, have mentees that I would counsel into vet med. And so the BlendVet Student Pathway Program came out of this desire to take it at a larger scale of leveraging the veterinary community, especially during conference season, to come and support an event where we can show students different pathways in vet med. So often students only see the small animal medicine sector, general practice. And I wanted them to know that there are specialties out there, just like human medicine, that they could also see themselves in. And it's so helpful when they see people like you, in the emergency medicine, pathway, being able to show what you do as well.
That is awesome. And I agree with you. A lot of times our biggest challenges in veterinary medicine or our biggest gaps are things that we just, that are actual problems first. Right. And like you said, you didn't see yourself in that space as a child. So you want to make sure you created that space for the next generation of veterinary professionals or those that are interested in veterinary medicine, which kind of brings me to my question for you today. We all know, it's not a secret that we are very far and few as Black professionals in veterinary medicine. I forgot what the numbers are. I think about 3%. You and I both were at VMX maybe a week ago, and I don't know. I'm asking you. I felt like there was a greater representation of the Black community. Did you feel that way, or do you think the numbers were almost the same?
Oh, I think that there's definitely a better representation of us. I think that having programming like BlendVet programming, having opportunities for affinity groups to come together and support one another are all ways that people want to come and show up, and because they feel like that's a conference where they will find their people and also find people that are like-minded in values and vision. VMX, I hadn't gone to historically, and then in 2022 was the first time I went. And yes, it was like post-pandemic, but there were so many people that were very much interested in changing the direction of vet med and making it more diverse and inclusive. And that's why I love jumping off with my year or starting my year off at VMX, because it's almost like a reunion for all of us, right?
It
to
is.
Come together. And that BlendVet Pathway event, I think, is just like the cherry on top of it, because like we're fellowshipping, but then we're able to take our talents and our goals and our dreams in this profession and pour it into eyes that may never have seen or thought about being veterinarians.
Absolutely.
You remember in the beginning of the program when I asked the students, like, how many of you want to be vets? And very few raised their hands. I mean, a lot of times they're shy. It's early in the day.
Right.
But by the end, and even on their own, some students were like, this is something I would consider.
Right.
And that's the secret sauce, is like many times these children don't have exposure at all to know that vet med is an option for them. So that's step one. And then step two is like actually letting them do the work, letting them see what it's like, and knowing that if they have a community of people that want to support them, that makes the difference in their confidence and their drive to continue on in this pathway.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think one of the things that was really heartwarming for me at that event, and again, this is why I do these events. One of the parents came up. She was like, I brought my son Gavin this time around, and I really wanted him to meet you because you are a great inspiration, because, you and him have the same kind of mentality or whatnot. And I just wanted him to see your love and your interest in it. And Gavin and I talked, and, he's a big sports guy right now. He's at the age where he's like, I'm a football star right now. But I told him, I was like, you can definitely be a football star, but always have something to fall back on. And if you love animals, definitely be that academic athlete, right? It doesn't hurt to get your grades and also do veterinary medicine, right? So, that was very heartwarming for me. And my question for you today is, I think you and I talked one time about, a veterinarian, someone that doesn't look like us, really wanted to get involved in diversity and inclusion. And he basically was like, hey man, I need some street cred. I need this credibility. Like how, and it was a genuine question because I understood what he was saying. Basically asking, for people that don't look like you and I, what strategies or what steps can they take, either as a veterinarian or as a veterinary team or within their clinic? What can they do to foster that diversity and inclusion, especially when it comes to cultivating veterinary professionals from that younger generation, and even the ones that are already in our clinic or those that have been in the field? What strategies can they take in order to become more diverse and inclusive?
I love this question, and I'm going to try to give as much information and also keep it, as simple as possible, because I think that one, just even having somebody say, I want to do more, like, kudos, because it's going to take all of us, right? It can't be the 2.2% of Black professionals, that are kind of raising this next generation of students. And so that's one of the reasons why BlendVet's events are also important, because we're not just relying on us, we're asking everybody to contribute a small role. And, there's direct ways you can do it. You can start off even with your clinic. You can have open houses where you invite schools, and not just schools that are in your local community that are just 2 to 3 miles away, or the schools your children go to, but schools that might be across the bridge or in another zip code, asking those students, partnering with local organizations, nonprofit organizations, the Boys and Girls Club, showing up for career days, calling schools. It sometimes can seem like a lot of work, but it isn't. Most of the time when you call a school and you just say, hey, the next time you have a career day, think of me, think of my hospital. I would love to come and support and show these students, what veterinary medicine is. And so even starting off with smaller programs like that, the programs like that BlendVet does is certainly on a larger scale, but we try to do all of the work and then just have people come and do the volunteer work. So if you're ever wanting to consider your conference time as a way to give back, that's also an opportunity. But shadowing experiences too. So often children of color don't necessarily have the same amount of hours as other students, so opening up your hospital and having a formal shadowing experience where you dedicate 2 to 4 hours for students depending on their age group, and taking the time to actually show them different aspects of veterinary medicine, whether it be laboratory, like having them prep ear cytology, or having them, even go and be in appointments with you and just listen to how an appointment is run, being in treatment, holding a NutriCal, lollipop while a vaccine is being given. These are ways to get children exposed with very little effort, but it does take intentionality. But I also wanted to say that there are also indirect ways that you can also give back that are also just as significant, because I realize we're all busy And sometimes, depending on life, like we're ebbing and flowing on just our extra time. And sometimes what is free time, right? We don't have it. And so, just indirect ways are sponsoring students. There are students that want to go to summer camps, and there are camps in different veterinary schools, and, or just little programs that cost money. And you could call those programs and say, hey, I'd like to donate X amount of dollars, and that may sponsor 5 students to go to that program. Or even if a program that requires like a 2-week residency, at a summer camp, I'll sponsor 1 child, right? And that is a way of giving back indirectly that still matters.
That's huge. That is huge. I didn't even think about it that way. And, a lot of times people, they hear these different strategies and steps, and they may think, that's not going to work, but it works. I can literally remember my first experience with a veterinarian. I had a friend, he didn't look like me, one of my white friends growing up as a child, Tyler Dockery. And his dad was a veterinarian. And I love animals growing up. Like, I always wanted to be like the veterinarian until I learned what veterinary technology was in the nursing side. And then I was like, oh, I want to be a veterinary technician. And learning these things, like his dad was the first person that said, oh yeah, you did go to school with my son. Why don't you come on in here and learn and get the experience. And that day forward, I've always had my foot into a veterinary clinic. So again, someone that didn't look like me gave me an opportunity. And I think that's that's very important, that we know that, those are there are opportunities out there, but a lot of times those opportunities have to be put forth with someone that doesn't look like, have to be put in place from someone that doesn't look like us. So I totally agree. So as far as like,
just to say, like, even him extending that ask, like saying you can come into my clinic,
right,
made you feel that level of welcome, and also that you belong there, right? He poured into you. So that's why you remember that. And that's what I want to make sure too, like when we're inviting these students, that we're creating these opportunities where they feel like they could belong in this career path with us.
Right.
So that's also important. And one thing that I forgot to add, which is really also important when I say about like time and what people can do, because in the beginning I talked about things that people have to physically go do, right? You have to physically go show up to school or physically open up your hospital doors. But there are also programs like Possibilities that offer virtual mentoring, right? So no different than you just being on your computer and having a LinkedIn account. You fill out, paper questions about what you do, what you like to talk to students about. And these students can find a way to connect with you and be able to ask you questions. Because, hey, what if you are that doctor that lives in a area that maybe students might not know that you exist, right? And opposite. So it's a great way to also give back of your time, but doesn't require you to be at a set location at a set time. And so that's why I said you can choose the direction you want to start. But to me, the start is so important.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly, and that's the thing. And just reiterating, we have a veterinary medicine shortage across the board. I get calls every day about veterinary technicians and veterinarians, and we're here to tell you there is. I don't believe there's an unemployed veterinarian or veterinary technician that does not want a job. There are so many job opportunities, but we are short. And I think that we have to start, like you said, cultivating young and starting young with the younger generation. I believe this is a great way. It may not be a short-term answer to our shortage, but it definitely may be a long-term answer to our shortage in veterinary medicine. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time again, Dr. Bruno, with hanging out with us and giving us your insight as far as diversity and inclusion. For those that want to know any information about the BlendVet or just any information about you or the team in general, where can they find you as far as on social media?
Sure. We're definitely on LinkedIn at blend.vet, Instagram blend.vet. We have a website, www.blend.vet. I'm at Dr. Niccole Bruno, and my name is spelled with 2 C's, so Niccole, but you should be able to find me through BlendVet. Thank you again, Walter, for this time and exposure. Appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you, and we appreciate what you do for the veterinary medicine community. Again, thank you all for joining us, everybody that tuned in for this episode. We really do appreciate you, and we will see you on the next time with the Black History Chat, sponsored by United Veterinary Care. Thank you all, and see ya.
Bye.